Hi everyone, thank you for joining and welcome to today's webinar on workflows and automation in Hubspot. I'm Patrick Hayes, Customer Success Manager here at Hubspot, and let's start by going over some housekeeping items for today's webinar. So a few things just to make you aware of. All attendees are automatically muted by default. You can ask questions using the Q&A box and I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. The runtime today is approximately 45 minutes. This is being recorded for training purposes, and the slides and recording will be emailed to you afterwards. Now, let's have a look at today's agenda. So what we're going to cover today is workflows and automation. And I'm going to go through this by looking at the workflow framework, the anatomy of workflows. I'm going to do a live workflow demo. I'm then going to look at a HubSpot case study. I'm going to give you some recommended next steps, and then we'll have some Q&A. Okay, that's the agenda. Let's get going. So, workflows and automation. So, the inbound methodology is a good place to start. So, hopefully you've all seen this before. So, this represents the typical journey of a person from being a complete stranger to your business to becoming a customer and a promoter, and the HubSpot tools that help them on that journey. So normally a person will find your website either on Google or social media or through paid advertising and will become a lead by filling out a form, giving you their email address to download a piece of content. Workflows fit in at the close stage, helping you to turn these leads into customers. So next step, we're going to define what are workflows. So workflows are a set of actions that automatically execute based on a starting condition and a set of rules. So if we think about the inbound methodology, when a visitor becomes a lead and it's your job to move them down the funnel, how do you do that? What is the next step after they become a lead? You need to nurture them to make them sales ready. And instead of following up with each lead manually, workflows help you to automate your lead nurturing and move leads down the funnel. So workflows will help you to convert leads into customers by automating that sequence of events that needs to occur to make them sales ready. So how do workflows achieve this? So HubSpot workflows combine context with the power to effectively scale your marketing efforts. So in terms of context, workflows are built on top of contact properties. So what's a contact property? A contact property stores specific information about an individual contact. So, example, first name, last name, email, company. And any contact property can be used as an action in a workflow. This includes default properties and also any custom contact properties that you create. So with workflows, you can use this data you have in your contacts to create personalized, relevant, and timely marketing. So you know the context of who they are and their behavior, and you also have the power you need to perform these actions with the HubSpot software. So for example, with workflows, you can introduce contacts to your company with a welcome series of emails. You can get repeat customers by sharing product recommendations. You can re-engage lapsed customers, send happy birthday messages, and more. So no matter what type of business you operate, you can set up the perfect workflow or automation for different situations. So as mentioned earlier, workflows are a set of actions that automatically execute in the software based on a starting condition and a set of rules. So when I think about this, I think about how your HubSpot portal comes with a robot, but you have to program it, okay? So you decide the set of actions, the starting conditions, the set of rules. And workflows will help you to scale your marketing efforts. So you have the capability to automate almost all your marketing tasks, but first you have to build a workflow. You have to teach the robot. And the good thing is workflows can, once they're set up, workflows can be left running in the background, taking any of those repetitive tasks kind of off your plate. You can welcome your new subscribers, reach out to people who maybe abandoned their online shopping carts, and maybe win back lapsed customers. Okay, so once it's set up, it's running in the background, it should save you some time. It'll help you to scale your marketing. So next thing I want to look at are the different workflow use cases. So there's typically two reasons why you would use workflows. So the first one is for administrative tasks. So these could be to set a contact property, update a contact property, clear a contact property. You might want to automatically add people to a list, or you might want to assign tasks. So these could be tasks that you maybe hand over to your sales team. So you can automate almost all of these administrative tasks. So any of those repetitive tasks that you want to automate. The second side is marketing automation. And this typically means lead nurturing or sending email. Okay, so what is lead nurturing? Lead nurturing is the practice of engaging and building relationships with your contacts via automated touches with the end goal of closing more customers faster. So if you think about your own business, what could you automate today on either side of this, administrative tasks or marketing automation? For me, I'm going to take a look closer now at lead nurturing. Okay, so when we think about lead nurturing, a few things we want to do here. We want to move leads down the funnel. We want to surface qualified demand, and we want to educate our prospects. And while we're doing this, we also want to make sure that we're personal. Okay, so we're introducing automation here, but we want to try and make it personal. So in every test we've run at HubSpot, increased personalization means greater conversions. We also want to be helpful. So you want to provide value. So in today's world, you can't get away with spamming people. So successful lead nurturing is centered on the prospect's needs, not yours. And you also want to be human. So keep your unique voice when marketing, and know when you should be introducing a salesperson. So if it's one-to-many messaging, it's marketing. And if it's more one-to-one, then that's going to be sales. So this lead nurturing is going to be a crucial part of any effective marketing strategy. And the reason why is because if you're not managing leads properly, then you're going to be wasting your time, marketing resources, and your money. Okay, so now I just want to go into the workflow framework. And the framework I use for building workflows consists of 3 elements: purpose, segment, and action. And I'm going to dive into each one of these right now. So purpose. The purpose is the goal of the workflow. So why are we doing this? So an example could be, we need to generate free trial leads. We need to nurture leads that have started a free trial. We need to generate more applications. We need to follow up with people after our event. Okay, so always start with the purpose, the why. Why are we doing this? The next thing we're going to look at is the segment. So the segment is the who. So you need to define the group of contacts you will be communicating with to make sure you're getting the right information to the right people and at the right time. So who are you targeting in this workflow? Is it all people in your database? Is it certain people with certain roles, personas in that group? Do you need, how deep do you need to segment it? What action do you want these contacts to take in the workflow? And the logic for creating enrollment criteria for workflows works exactly the same as creating lists. So if you've ever created a list in HubSpot and you've gone through maybe some of the different filters, contact properties, company properties, it's the exact same when choosing your who. So you have quite a few options: location, what they've downloaded, their persona, what stage they're at, what lifecycle stage they're at. So there's a couple of different options there for choosing who should be in the workflow or your segment. But what's equally important is who shouldn't be in the workflow. So maybe if you were doing a campaign that was location specific, or if people are on a suppression list. So these are people that you do not want to email. Have people unenrolled from a previous workflow, or do they not meet your purpose? The next thing we're going to look at is the action. So the action, I like to think of it as the what. So what are we going to do? So successful automation relies on triggering relevant and timely actions based on the context. And actions are the individual functions that execute as part of a workflow. So these, such as like sending email, adding a delay between actions, setting a contact property value, etc. So for example, you might have a workflow that delays 1 day after a contact is enrolled before sending that contact an email and updating a contact property with a specific value. The key thing here is that you need to map out the actions that will guide a lead towards your goal. So if you think about the actions, you need to map them out. What's that journey look like? So what is the goal of nurturing these contacts? What are the steps? What about the people who don't take action? What are we going to do with those? What content are we going to send to these contacts? Do people need to be alerted along the way, etc.? And what content do we need? So you need to create your emails in advance. So all that lovely email content. You also need to create your internal alerts. So if you're going to update sales, what's that going to look like? And the next thing I want to look at then is kind of tied to the action is the when. So workflows help you to execute multiple actions at desired intervals throughout a contact lifecycle. And one thing we've learned at HubSpot is that timing matters. So how long or short your workflow is depends on how long is your sales cycle. So how long does it typically take you to close a deal? How big a buying decision is this? How many people are involved? And how much education is required? So timing will always be important when nurturing leads. You might email too often, too little. So if you think about how many emails should you send in a workflow, it could be 2, 3, or 4. It depends on your persona. Okay, so what suits your persona best? So typically I'd recommend to start with a small delay. You can always take them out afterwards. You can always change them. Be aware of what you're asking people to do. Is it a big action? Is it a small action? And just keep testing and figure out what's working. Okay, so that's kind of the framework for workflows. So when we're thinking about planning for a workflow, the next thing I want to get into is the anatomy of workflows. And the first thing I'm going to look at is a workflow goal. So a goal is a workflow's ultimate objective, and it allows you to track the success of a workflow. Okay, so one of the most common mistakes I see people make is creating a workflow that attempts to accomplish several goals at once. So not only is this difficult to manage, but it also makes success rate reporting much more complex. So each workflow should have a single goal, which means one outcome. It's going to be one outcome that can be trackable. So there should be no gray area on whether a workflow worked or not. This allows you to measure the performance of the workflow, so the conversion rate of the workflow. So did it work? Yes or no? And the other thing is, once an enrolled contact meets the criteria of a goal, they are unenrolled, excuse me, they are unenrolled and are removed from that workflow. So this allows you to remove people from the workflow when they meet the goal. And this stops them from getting more communication if they meet the goal before the end. So if your goal is for a contact to book a demo and you have a sequence of 3 emails, and after the first email they book a demo, then they're going to be taken out of the workflow and they won't receive the other 2 emails because they've already achieved the goal. The next thing I want to look at is workflow types. So we have 3 different options here for setting up a workflow. So the first one is standard. So this is for ongoing lead nurturing. So for example, nurturing ebook downloads to request a consultation. These are not date-based. They're not date-orientated. So it's the default option for building a workflow. The next one we have is fixed date-based. So this is where you can nurture before, on the day of, or after a calendar date, such as a trade show or a webinar. These are for fixed dates, okay? So when I think about this, I think about Christmas Day, Valentine's Day. They fall on the same dates for everyone. And we also have property date-based. So this is around a key date, individual to that contact. So this could be their renewal date or their birthday, okay? So property date-based is individual to that contact. The next thing I want to look at is how to start a workflow and the different ways to do this. So the first way is manually. So this is where you can just select a list and you can manually add people to the workflow. So if you've ever created a list, it's the same thing. You would just use that now as enrollment criteria. The second way is automatically. So it can be triggered. So if we think about this, there's a number of different ways for this to be triggered. So it could be if someone joins a list. So if you have a smart list, this is a dynamic list that updates automatically when people meet the criteria. So your enrollment criteria could be a smart list. And as people join that list, they're going to get entered into the workflow. Same with form submissions. If they submit a particular form, they can go in. If they take action in a particular email, view a certain page, attend a certain event, or depending what their original workflow status is. So you can see here on the right-hand side all the different trigger criteria to automatically enroll people and to start the workflow. The next thing I want to look at are workflow actions. So one of the main actions of workflows is sending email. But we're not just sending email for the sake of sending out emails. We're doing it to nurture contacts to an end result, to generate business. And the vast majority of your success might come from the 4th, 5th, 6th email, whatever that looks like for your business. But the number of emails you send will vary. A couple of tips around email, is just keep them short and relevant. Match the subject line to the action the contact took to get enrolled. So, for example, if they've downloaded a free guide, subject line, here's your free guide. It makes sense, it's relevant. And as mentioned earlier, you also want to personalize the content. So as much as possible, use those personalization tokens. So you can go, hi, first name, you downloaded X. It just makes it more relevant. And the types of emails you might send in a workflow will vary as well. So you might send one email. The first email you send a lead could be to build trust. The second could be additional content for them to download. The third could be an action-based email. Then whether or not the contact takes action, the next email could be a breakup email. One of the next biggest kind of workflow actions is if-then. So if-then statements are also known as branching logic in workflows. And by using branching logic, you can further develop these nurturing experiences for your contacts. So you're kind of creating mini goals that help you to optimize each step of your marketing automation strategy to the fullest. So for example, if a contact does not open an email, then resend the email 5 days later. If a contact visits our pricing page, then send them an email offering a consultation. If a contact downloads our guide, then send them an email with the next interesting guide. So branching logic means that leads can follow one path or another path based on the action they have taken. So have they opened the email? Have they visited our pricing page? Have they downloaded our guide? And you can also use branching logic to set specific actions based on how a contact has interacted with your content or your website. So it doesn't just have to be, if they've opened our email, have they clicked our email? It could be, have they visited our website in the last 30 days? Have they looked at our pricing page? Different things like that. So the if-then branches or branching logic is going to be really important for you. The next thing I want to look at is workflow settings. So there's a couple of different things here that you can influence in your workflow. So a couple of things here. What days do you want actions to execute? So you could decide whether you only want to send email on business days only, so Monday through Friday, or if you want to send email 7 days a week. You can also set the time that you want these actions to execute. So this can be any time during the day, or any time in a 24-hour period, or between the hours of 9 and 10, or 9 and 11, or 9 and 5. So the idea here is that you can customize it, so you're trying to be a bit more human. So maybe you should only be sending your emails during business hours. Or do you set it up so that if someone downloads a piece of content at midnight, they get follow-up email automatically. So you can decide that. The next thing I want to look at then is workflow performance. So this is going to be really important. So this is workflow performance. It's a visual representation of your workflow's performance within a selected date range. So you're going to see these metrics, okay? So contacts enrolled. So how many contacts were enrolled in this workflow? How many completed the workflow? Who met the goal? How many were lost? And what your email engagement rate was like, okay? So you don't get this data unless you set a goal. Okay, so we can't give you the goal conversion rate if you don't set a goal. So the contacts enrolled is the number of contacts in the workflow. Contacts completed are the number of contacts who completed the final action in the workflow. So for example, a contact that completes four of five actions in a workflow, but does not complete the fifth and final action, is not considered to have completed the workflow. Contacts who met goal, so the number of contacts who are added to the goal list and subsequently removed from the workflow. Contacts lost, the number of contacts who don't meet any of your other criteria. And this include people that were either manually unenrolled or suppressed. And for email engagement, we're going to be looking at number of emails delivered, how many were opened, and the clicks. So one of the big things here to look at is your email engagement. So you could have excellent workflow with great logic, but your emails are not converting. Your emails are letting you down. So this is by looking at your performance, you'll be able to see, okay, those emails we're sending, they're not getting opened or people aren't clicking. Do we need to be clearer with our call to action? Do we need a better subject line? It needs to be more relevant. Okay, so by looking at this, you can improve your overall workflow. And then there's one thing then, just to kind of pause here. The key to creating a robust workflow is to build the workflow last. Okay, so what you need to do first is to have a clear visual understanding of how your contacts will flow through a workflow and onto the next. So what I recommend you to do is to think about the framework, so the purpose, segment, actions, and open the tool and work in HubSpot last. Build the workflow last. Okay, cool. So the next thing I'm going to do now is the demo. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to jump into HubSpot and I'm going to create a workflow. So this is going to be a lead nurturing workflow. I've already mapped out the steps and I'm just going to build it now, explaining as I go along why I'm taking different actions. Okay, so workflows are powered by all the intelligence we capture on a contact, as I mentioned earlier, so contact properties, from information they've typically provided on forums, pages they've viewed on our website, any email interactions, and specific actions they're performing. Okay, and there can be kind of levels of complexity here, but they should be pretty easy to set up if you take the time to kind of plan ahead. So the example I have here, just take some water. So the example I have here, I have contacts who have downloaded an ebook that we offer, and I want them now to book a free consultation. So what this looks like is I have this step-by-step guide here. So how to gain a competitive advantage using market analysis. And I have this form here where people can download. And I want people that have downloaded that guide to book a free consultation here. Okay, so that's the goal. Right, so I'm just going to set it up now. So I'm coming into contacts, workflows, and I'm just going to go create workflow. These are the three different options here I mentioned. So we have the standard, fixed date, and date property. This is just going to be a standard one. So I'm going to go start from scratch, create workflow. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the goal. So a goal is a workflow's ultimate objective and allows you to track the success of a workflow. And as I said earlier, we're not just sending emails for the sake of sending emails, but to nurture contacts to an end result and to generate business. So for this goal, I'm going to come over here to the left-hand side and I'm going to set my goal. So the goal for this is going to be form submission. And the form submission is that people have filled out this meeting link here. Okay, so meeting modules there's a recent update, so they're now treated more like forms. So they're better integrated with HubSpot. So that's excellent for me, and that's going to be my goal. So if I come down here to form submission, and instead it's not going to be any form, it's going to be a specific form. And I'm just going to search for this now. So it's going to be meetings link, free big data consultation. Done. Save. Okay, so that's my goal. So at the end of this workflow, I will know how many contacts I enrolled hit that goal. and booked a free consultation. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to name my workflow. So new workflow won't cut it. So I want to have a clear naming convention so that anyone coming after me will know exactly what this workflow was. So ebook to free consultation nurture, and just my initials. Great. Okay, so we've gotten this far now. The next thing I want to do is I want to enroll people into this workflow. So the enrollment criteria, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be form submission. So any people that have downloaded this guide using this form. Okay, so if I come back in here, I'm going to go to enrollment triggers. And again, it's going to be form submission. And I want this to trigger automatically. So as people submit the form, they automatically get entered into this. So I'm going to go to, it's automatic. I'm going to go form submission, and I'm going to find that form. So that form is called download competitive market analysis ebook. And I'm going to hit done and save. Okay. Now, anybody that downloads this content through this form is going to be entered into this workflow. Yeah, great. So the next thing I want to do is I want to send them an email. Okay, so anyone that downloads the content, the next thing I want to do is send them an email. And this email is going to be a thank you email. Okay, and I'm going to thank them for downloading the ebook. So if I go to, I've just clicked here to add an action and send an email. Now, your emails will already have been saved for automation, so you need to create the emails in advance, or you can click here to create the email. I've created this email already, so I'm just going to find it from the list. And it's called Thank You Competitive Market Analysis. I'll just click here, so you'll see a preview of the email. So yeah, that's the right one, and I just hit save. Now, anybody that downloads this is going to be sent this. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a delay. So if I click here, and I can add this delay, and I'm going to add a delay for 2 days. Okay. Now, why am I adding a delay? The reason is I want to allow people to interact with the email that I've just sent them, the thank you email, before I send them any other content. Okay. So now I'm just going to hit save. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to send them an email offering them a free consultation. So this is going to be my offer, and the call to action leads to that landing page with a form to book the free consultation. So my next email is this. So unlock the power of big data, sign up for a free consultation. People click sign up today, brings them to this page where they can book a consultation. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. So again, I'm going to send an email, and the email has already been saved, and it's free consultation, and it's landing page with form. And I can see again on the preview, that's the right email, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to add an if-then branch. So this is going to be the branching logic that I'm going to use. So I just click on action and add if-then branch. Now there's going to be 2 paths here that people can take. So what I'm going to base this on is if people have opened this email that I've just sent them, and if they have booked a meeting, booked their free consultation or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is marketing email activity. Contact has opened email, and it's that email that I just sent. So free consultation LP. Okay, so I'm going to done, and have they booked that meeting? Form submission. It's not going to be any form, it's going to be that particular one. So again, meetings, link. Done. Save. Okay, so my if-then branch is if people have opened the email I just sent them, and if they have booked a demo. Okay, now as I said here, there's going to be 2 paths here. So the first one I'm going to take on is the no path. So for people that have not opened the email, have not booked a meeting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them a client case study. Okay, So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go send email. So we have some resources on the marketing team that we send to contacts to nurture them further. And one of them is a client case study that helps people to see like social proof of other companies having success. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on send email, and the email is going to be client case study demo. There it is. And I'm going to hit save. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do again is I'm going to add a delay, and I'm going to give them some time. So I'm going to give them 3 days this time because they're not engaging. Okay, I'm going to give them more time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a second chance to book a free consultation. Okay, so I'm going to go plus send email, free consultation. Perfect. Okay. Now, for the yes branch, these are people that have put their hands up. Okay, they have booked a demo. So I want to now alert the sales team. They're all ready. They're ready and waiting. So I'm going to go to plus, and now I'm going to send an internal email. So all along I've been sending marketing emails, outbound things, and now I'm going to send one internally only. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this, and it's called hot lead notification. So this lead is kind of showing interest, and I'm going to hit save. And what you need to do is you need to assign it to the HubSpot owner. So whoever owns the lead in HubSpot, whoever the HubSpot owner is, they're now going to receive this notification. The next thing I want to do is, and this is more on the administrative side, is I want to create a task. So I'm going to create a task for this person to follow up. So I'm just going to call it here, contact to set up free consultation. I want it done immediately. I'm just going to go hot lead, and I'm going to assign it to the HubSpot owner. Great. The final thing I'm going to do on the marketing side is I want to stamp this lead that has taken this action. I want to stamp them now as marketing qualified lead. So when I'm reporting back to the CEO, I can say we created X marketing qualified leads this month. So I'm going to go plus. And now I'm going to go to set a contact property value. And it's going to be lifecycle stage. And I'm going to set that to marketing qualified lead. Save. Okay. Now, what I've done here is I've created a full workflow from beginning to end. One of the things I could do is for the no branch is I could just kind of update the lifecycle stage. You can just leave it as lead. Okay, so people that are no, they're still going to be leads. Okay, so you can decide here if you want to give them a particular stamp, or if you have a custom property for, you know, not engaged, not interested, cold lead or whatever, you can add them to a list. So you could add all these people that are not interested to a particular list, or you could just let them exit the workflow naturally. Okay, they've gone through it. On the yes side, once someone puts their hand up, books a demo, we want to get that order to sales immediately. Right? Now, I built this workflow based on the steps I mapped out. If you're building out your workflow and you have any issues or questions, you can just click help here, and you can start a live chat where our team would be able to just jump in and give you a hand on the workflow to figure out your specific logic. Okay, but the main thing is you need to know what you want to achieve, and they'll help you get there. Okay, cool. So that was the live demo part, and now I want to jump back into the presentation. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the HubSpot case study. Okay, so I sat down with the HubSpot marketing team just to get some insights and the secret sauce. So peek behind the curtain of how HubSpot HubSpot marketing team runs lead nurturing. Okay, so what we have here, people come into HubSpot they enter our system through different channels. Okay, so it could be through a blog, it could be through an offer, or it could be straight to demo. So people just want a demo. Okay, so we have all these leads coming into us, converting all the time. And what they recognized as a team was that marketing teams invest heavily in the acquisition, the lead generation. So they use monetary capital to run big advertising campaigns. You're putting your time, you have teams of writers creating interesting content. But if you're not converting them, then you have a leaky funnel. Okay, you're not utilizing your leverage. So if you're not automating your lead nurturing, you could be missing out on a huge opportunity. Okay, so let's take a look now at how the HubSpot marketing team nurture leads. Okay, so the first one is quite basic. Okay, every single person that enters the HubSpot database, they receive a welcome email. The welcome email is for everyone. And the reason is we want to set expectations, provide value, and offer them next steps. So we're kind of saying who we are, what we can offer you, these are our services, here's how you can contact us. Okay, so very straightforward. The next one then is first conversion nurturing. So what this means is, in contrast to a welcome email, this email is only for leads, and the idea here is to provide value. Okay, so someone becomes a lead, they've downloaded some piece of content, they've entered your database. What do we now want them to do? Okay, what will help them decide to become a customer? So we're going to send them an email. That's typically here. We recommend to provide contacts with educational content. So be helpful, help them. An additional guide that will give them an action, so they can download another guide. They might also, at this point, depending on how long or short your sales cycle is, once they become a lead, you might say, are you interested in a free consultation? Okay, but typically it would be more education. You're nurturing them further down the funnel. At this point, you can figure out if they've converted to an MQL or not. So have they become a marketing qualified lead? So what does this look like? So people have become a lead. You've sent them the first conversion nurturing. Have they converted to MQL? So this is going to be a yes or a no. So if we look at the yes first, we're going to automatically trigger an internal email for a sales rep, from a sales rep that pushes the contact to book a meeting. Pushes, maybe the wrong word there, encourages. So what you can do is you can automate everything from someone becoming a lead to receiving a welcome email, to receiving a conversion email, to getting an email from sales to book a meeting, book in that consultation. If they don't convert to an MQL, so let's say they don't engage with your first conversion nurturing, what you could do is you can enter them into the pool. And I'm now going to talk about what's a pool. So if you think about, so there's two kind of concepts here, pools and rivers. So pools are kind of like back burners, okay? So these are contacts that you're not actively engaging, you're not nurturing them. And rivers are, this is where you are nurturing contacts, okay? So the river is flowing fast, you want them to flow down the funnel, okay, towards a sales conversation. So again, first conversion nurturing. If they become an MQL, we're going to pass them on to sales, or what we're going to do is we're going to send them into the pool. Okay, so as I said, rivers are when leads are in nurturing, pools are when leads are not in nurturing. People in the pool don't go there to die. They still receive your content emails. Okay, so this could be your blog digest, product updates, newsletter, things like that. And people can leave the pool. Okay, so depending on the different actions they take, they can then enter different rivers. So on that theme of people leaving the pool, we have the pool here. People can leave the pool a few ways. So one of the ways could be a behavioral trigger. So this could be, they come to your website, they fill out a form, or maybe out of nowhere they viewed your pricing page. You're now going to put them into a river towards a sales conversation. Second thing is, they might leap out of the pool and book a demo request. So we're going to move those people straight down the funnel. Or people might never actually want to leave the pool. These people are going to be suppressed. Okay, so these are people that are completely disengaged, people that might have unsubscribed, email bounces, things like that. So it's important to know where your leads are. So if you think about your database today, how many of them are in the pool that you're not nurturing, and how many of them are being nurtured in the river? The next big concept then is follow-up, okay? And what we have here is an example email that HubSpot automatically trigger based on a high-value page view, okay? So in this example here, what we have is we have a demo page with a form to request the demo. We can tell if a lead has viewed the page but not taken the action. So they viewed the demo page, but they haven't actually requested a demo, and we're going to follow up because the fortune is in the follow-up, okay? So we're going to automatically trigger an email that offers them to book a personalized demo. And we can use our meetings link tool so that customers can instantly book a meeting in a calendar with very little effort on their part. So, example email here. I saw you recently visit our demo page. You didn't get a chance to fill out the form. I wanted to reach out to offer you a personalized demo for HubSpot. You could book a time in my calendar here or just reply to this email. Great. Fortune is in the follow-up. The next thing then is around re-engagement, okay? So the purpose of this is to identify and segment our contacts who have not engaged our emails. The segment is going to be people who have received 5+ emails since they last engaged. So they haven't opened these emails, they haven't clicked these emails, and our action is going to be to send them an email encouraging them to either re-engage with us or to update their email preferences, okay? So what this looks like is people that are not engaging in the pool, we're going to send them a re-engagement campaign. And in this campaign, we're going to give them our best, newest content. Remind them why they loved you in the first place, okay? And if they don't engage, if they do engage, we're going to leave them in the pool. We're going to put them back in the pool, or maybe we're going to put them in the river. If they don't engage, then it's wise to suppress them. So you can create a list of unengaged contacts and clean out your database. Okay, so the next thing I want to do then is a quick recap. And what I wanted to do here was just go through some best practices of what we covered. So here we go. First thing you need to do is to define the goal of the workflow. Okay, so this is the purpose. So the purpose, the segment, the actions. Take the time to plan in advance and know what the goal of the workflow is. Don't have multiple goals, have a single clear goal. Identify which contacts should be enrolled. So again, this is the who. What are those group of contacts in your database that should be enrolled in this workflow? You need to select the number and the types of emails. So you need to create the emails in advance for your specific workflow requirements. You could choose the time delays between the emails. So what does that sequence of events look like? How long should it take? And then finally, piece it all together in the workflow. So you're starting by doing the planning, the blueprint, getting your assets together, and then finally, then you're piecing it all together in the workflow. And don't forget the golden rule, build the workflow last. Okay, so next steps. Remember the golden rule. So build the workflow last. The next thing I wanted to show you was this workflows worksheet. So I was going to come out of the presentation. We have this worksheet here that helps you to brainstorm your workflows logic, okay? So it gives you different questions to ask yourself what that answer is and what you should then create. What we also have here is a way to map out your workflows based on the buyer's journey. So if people are at the awareness stage, consideration stage, or decision stage, what type of kind of content should you create? What does it look like? And it also has example workflows just to get the juices flowing. Okay, so different steps, different goals, emails, etc. So I'll send everybody this, and if you have any questions about it, if you're having any trouble filling it out, feel free to let me know. If you want to bring this to your next one-to-one, our next meeting, perfect. The next thing I wanted to do then was to show you the project. Okay, so in your HubSpot portal, you actually have a project that describes how to set up a lead nurturing workflow. So under productivity and projects, you can just search for setting up a lead nurturing workflow. And this gives you all the steps chronologically that you need to take to set up a functioning workflow for lead nurturing. If you click these, they'll expand and they'll give you guides, tips, different resources. It tells you, sends you straight to the guide for doing different tasks. Okay, so once you've gone through these steps, you should have a fully functioning lead nurturing workflow. So if this is a project you'd like to work on with me, then feel free to let me know and I'd be happy to kind of walk you through these steps. We could do different milestones along the way. Okay, the next thing then is for me, really, but it's also for you. So there's going to be a survey, and it's really important. This is a project I'm running myself, just to do webinars. So if you like the format of webinars and you want to see more of them, then please fill out the survey and let me know what you think. Let me know what you're interested in. It'll help me to improve. Perfect. So that's the end of the presentation. And now I just want to see now if there's any Q&A. Okay. Recording of the webinar, yeah, 100%. I'm going to send it out afterwards. The next thing is, how do we link our form to HubSpot, e.g. a Google form we have embedded in our site? So you have a couple of different options here for forms. So you can create a HubSpot form and you can embed it into your website. You can use the HubSpot API, which is where you can build your own form and then link that onto HubSpot. For something like a Google form, what you would have to do then is you'd actually have to get all those contacts and upload them into the database. So what I would recommend is to use a HubSpot form for those purposes. Another question that I got was, how long should I leave between workflow steps? And the answer here is it depends. I'm sorry to say. So the further you go back in your buyer's journey, the longer the delay should be between workflows. So if someone is coming from an awareness stage and they've just entered your database, they're figuring out things, it might be a longer cycle towards getting them on a demo. And the other thing then is, how many steps should I include? So it's kind of similar to how long your workflow should be. So again, think about the buyer's journey. The further away they are from making a purchasing decision, then the more steps there should be between workflows. Okay, so there's no more questions. So what I can do is I can give everybody 10 minutes back in their day. I just want to say thanks very much for attending the webinar and expect a survey soon. Okay, thanks very much. Bye, guys.